Hi. Happy Palm Sunday. And holy is hard. That's what I wrote in my journal this morning. I was thinking about Palm Sunday and the fact that it was Palm Sunday, and we had picked up palms yesterday from the entryway of our church and put them up in the window. And I told my husband how great it was to just have life in the window, And so I woke up and I was thinking about Palm Sunday, and I was thinking about Jesus triumphantly riding in, and I was thinking about just the joy and the excitement and the parade and the people and all the things. And then I thought about what was coming up, about how Palm Sunday is the start to Holy Week, and how hard holy is. Holy is hard. Set apart is hard. And here we are, and holy is hard. And just hearing that, or having someone say that, allowing weight for that, may be just what one person watching this needs to hear, that holy is hard. And it is. So a few hours later, I texted a friend to check in because the last time I had spoken to her a day or so ago, her back had really been bothering her. And so I just wanted to reach out, do a check-in, and just see how she was feeling. So I did. And she texted me back and she said, physically, I'm fine. Emotionally, I'm hanging on by a thread. And I have to wonder how many of us are just like my friend, who feel as though they are physically fine, but hanging on by a thread, who are starting to seriously wonder if the effects of a virus that isn't even in their home yet is already affecting them despite not even coming to them. You know what I mean? How is this playing out in your home, and how is this looking in your life? And do you feel like you're just hanging on by a thread? And I sat with what she wrote and gave it the space that it deserved, and responded to her and said, what if the thread is enough? What if the thread is enough? And I haven't stopped thinking about it since, which is why we're here. What if that thread is the hope that keeps you moving? What if that seed of faith is what allows you to continue to sow? What if that thread is indeed enough? Because what I see happening right here and in the lives of others I know is that there's almost this anxiousness to try to make everything okay. And I'm kind of watching it slowly destroy us. I want everybody to be okay, and I want all my people to be okay, and I don't want any of my people scarred because I said something or did something or got angry or got upset because nobody knew what they wanted for lunch, and why does this have to be a big decision, and all the things. And in a time where we're together, are we feeling apart? Do you feel like you're hanging on by a thread? And maybe it feels like that, right? Like, because it's not the first thing, right? It's like you have on and you're like, you're girded up and you're like suited up and stuff, and you could have handled it. But now it's just like that last thread. That's what it is. It's like everything is just worn down to the surface and you're just like, I don't even know anymore. Like, I don't know. I don't have anything that I can even give. So what, right? But what if that thread that you're hanging on by is the very thread of hope that keeps you going? You know, I've said before that a couple of my favorite lines from movies are from 2 animated films. So, you know, there's that. Both in Trolls and in Home, of all movies, right? That in both movies, like the lead female character, the one says, I don't know, but I hope. And that's enough. And in the second one, when asked if she had a plan, like, what's your plan? She said, I don't have a plan, but I have hope. And that's enough. So what if that thread that you're hanging on by is a thread of hope that is strong enough to sustain you and keep you going? Which led me to think about the woman who had been spiritually, emotionally, and physically isolated for 12 years. Okay? So I don't know how many days we've been doing this thing, but I'm just saying, like, 12 years. And I thought about her story, and it's in 3 of the Gospels, so you can check it out. You could check it out in Mark or Matthew or Luke, the story of the bleeding woman. And I got to quit calling her that, by the way, because whenever I talk about her or preach about her, I'm always like, that poor woman. She's the only person I know in all of Scripture who ever got defined by her issues, actually with the word issue. Like, right? Have you ever heard about this woman without her being referred to as the woman with the issue of blood? Right? Like, hey, we all got our issues, right? So this was her issue. She had this issue of blood, but it kept her isolated for 12 years. But her story goes as such that exhausting everything else, exhausting all she had, spending all of her money on doctors, still not getting any answers, still not getting any better, she hears that Jesus is in town and makes her way to him. And I love Mark's account, because Mark's account says she thought to herself, if I could just get to the hem of his garment, if I could just get there, then I know that I'd be healed. If I can just get there to that thread. And so she does. And that in itself could be this beautiful, amazing, encouraging lesson about how nothing and no one can ever keep us from him, and that there is no distancing from him, and there is no threat associated with him, and instead we just bring it, every single issue that we got. And so she makes her way to Jesus. Of course, everybody, right, is pressing in against Jesus. It'd be totally socially unacceptable right now, right? Like, but back then, see, it was fine. And so he's like making his way through the crowd, and they're pressing all in on him, because that's what you do when Jesus is in town. And although they were all pressing in, though, it was this woman who reaches the hem of his garment, and he stops and he says, "Who touched me?" Right? And the disciples asked him the same thing we would ask him, like, "Hello, there's like 500 people around you. I mean, who didn't touch you?" And he's like, no. It was different. I felt power leaving me. And so he asked again, who touched me? And I love what scripture says. It says, the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, she just laid it all out right then and there. She told him everything. She told him why she was there. She told him what it was she needed. And all those people around, they sat and witnessed that. You know, I've spoken before about how, you know, you can look at a story like this and you can wonder, like, what kind of Jesus is this? Right? Like, he calls her out right in front of this entire crowd of people and makes her raise that feeble, anemic hand and be like, me, you know, it was me. Except for his great love for all, and all would benefit from this story, and all would remember this story. And here we are still talking about this story, and the people in the crowd witnessed something that day that they would never forget. So this is where we bring our issues. He looked at her and he said, "My daughter, your faith has made you whole." There's translations that say well, there's translations that say whole. Both are so stinking good, are they not? Your faith has made you well. You believed that I could before you ever touched me. That's what faith is. It's this knowing based on the unseen. Like, that woman knew before she even got there, like, if I can just get there, if I can just get to him, I don't need to touch him. Like, I don't need to touch him. I just need a thread. That's it. I just need a thread. And he said, "Daughter," you just have to wonder how long it had been since somebody called her that. This beautiful, I see you, you belong to me and always will endearment of daughter. And it said she was whole from that hour on. From that hour on. So I have to ask again, like, are you hanging on by a thread? Because, friends, maybe it's not about trying to hold it all together. Maybe it's about just dragging our weary selves right before him. Every issue, every broken, every why, every I don't like this, every help me. And maybe it's the thread of hope that gets us there. I know that holy is hard. I also know that we are holy. I know that he tells us that we are chosen and we are royal and we are holy. And I also know that holy means set apart. but he is good. And he knows, and he's here. Every issue, every tear that falls. You know, I wrote yesterday about Jesus weeping alongside. How we cry because we just don't understand. We just don't understand why. And Jesus cries because he knows we don't understand why. A God who walks along and comforts and consoles and says, I'm right here. You just come as you are. You can just come as you are because I'm right here. A God who goes before us and is beside us. A God who watches over us, who reigns over all of this. Every single moment. Every single moment. If you find yourself hanging on by a thread, I pray tonight that you smile, even if it's just for a moment, knowing that the thread is enough. The thread is absolutely enough. You don't walk alone. You are seen, you are heard, you are known, you are loved. Always and always and always, forever. Be blessed this night and be well. Mwah.